Okay, g'day. Welcome to the Concrete Connection Project podcast. I'm down on St. Luke's Place, which is street number 62, in which I'm down trying to create and perform on every single street at the Adelaide CBD, raising vital funds and awareness for mental health charities that support people that are struggling with mental health. And today I've got a very special guest, a very old friend of mine. Not that she's old, we're just old in terms of our friendship, is Miss Suzi Murphy.
Hello.
Who's an incredible artist. And yeah, we've been friends. We just worked out for nearly about 16 years.
Yeah, that's right. It's been a long time seeing you too.
Yeah, well, welcome to the podcast, and welcome to St. Luke's Place, and welcome to the Concrete Connection Project. I appreciate you coming down.
No, thank you. This is an awesome project, Benno. This is great.
Oh, well, thank you very much. So today we're going to have a bit of a chat. We're going to reminisce on some old times. But first, what I've been asking a lot of people during my sort of journey around, what do the words mental health mean to you?
To me, personally, I think it's something that I look at checking in on a regular basis. It's muscle, our mind, the way it works, and no different to anything else, whether it's working out at the gym or, it's just something that we need to check in on a very regular basis. And also checking in with others, I think, too, on a regular basis. But mental health / mental illness, I think, has become more of a pandemic probably than COVID. And I think we need to start as a community. Every individual community needs to start looking at it a little bit more intently, I think. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I love that. I love that you said it's a muscle. I think, just like heading to the gym, just like, working out, like having a run, it is something that does need to be exercised and it needs to be checked upon. You are an incredible artist, and photographer and, incredible illustrator, and you've done art for very many years. Now, how is that good for your mental health? Is it good or is it bad? Art.
Oh no, it's amazing. I tend to liken my art. I don't know if you've ever heard of abseiling. Rock climbers, they get into this zone. Mm-hmm. It's a vibration that you start to get when you really get into this zone when you're doing your art, and you're not thinking about paying your bills or, what you're doing the next day, your future, tomorrow, anything like that. You're just so in this zone. And you probably relate too with music when you start practicing and you start playing and you get into this zone, and it's this headspace, but it's a really healthy headspace. It's you become, you get more clarity, I find. But it's that stillness that you find when you're doing your art. You'll create a beautiful ambient space. Before I even start doing my art, I create this space. There's a bit of a ritual that goes into, getting into that zone. And then once you're in there, you don't even realise how time's even passed. But when you're doing art, or any art form, music, drawing, illustration, even photography, walking through nature and taking snaps of landscapes or macro photography, it's going into that zone, and it's so important to have that stillness. But for me, it's also a form of expression. And I find in art, there is no right or wrong. There's no rule books. It's like being a child. It's like being childlike. So the other day I was in my clay class. I'd just done a wheel throwing session, and the instructor was telling us about, she gave us the very basics of putting the glaze on. And it was very basic, her instructions. And she said, be like a child and play. And that's what I love about doing art, is that you go into this childlike state. Children don't have worries or concerns. They love playing it, and it's wonderful form of expression. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Talking about that, the zone, like just like a flow state. And I think it comes down, not just with art, it's about being present, in the moment, having a conversation or listening. I think it's, in other aspects of our lives, being present and getting into that zone is, I think, very important. Now, we were talking, now I remember what we were saying. We were talking before over a coffee of the importance that we've both found with journaling. Now, you say you start the day, journaling.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about that for us?
Yeah, I was actually listening to an audiobook called The Artist's Way, and it highly recommends doing a 3-page journal entry every morning. And I took that on board, and was also enforced by my therapist, because I did go see a therapist, and she was like, definitely do journal writing every day. And I'm like, well, I've read it in The Artist's Way. My therapist is telling me to do it. I'm going to give it a go. And 3 pages every morning of just anything that just comes to mind. And it just flows out of you. Any thoughts. It doesn't even have to make sense. Mm-hmm. Initially, it's just words that come into your head. You write them down. You don't go back and look at them or anything like that. You just pour out whatever you need to. From that as well, I do a gratitude diary that I have, that I do entries every day. The two do really flow as well. When you do your journal entry and you get out all the mess, the stuff that spirals out of control out of your head, and you put it on paper, and then you go to that point where, well, what am I grateful for? And I think gratitude is, you can find gratitude in the smallest of things all day, every day. It's always in the little things. I think we're always looking at the bigger picture too often. And we think that if we achieve this will make us happy. But I'm a big believer in the everyday little things that accumulate to fill up the joy jar. The joy jar is what I call it in my head. That's how I have a visual thing, because I'm a very visual person. But it's filling up the joy jar. We don't have to. Joy is a very big emotion, but you can fill up joy from all those little things every day by showing gratitude and finding gratitude in the little things every day.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, talking about that gratitude and talking about, journaling and, the gratitude and being present, I think go hand in hand, especially with, those journals, those gratitude journals. I was saying before that I think, once you start putting pen to paper, it can really help. We start making a case for something, whether we know it or not. Once we start putting our pen to paper and getting into that free flow state and getting into, being really present with that, you start making a case for something. You can write down your emotions and how you're feeling, but then you can start to see, whether you know it or not, that perhaps you were being unreasonable, perhaps you were being over the top, or perhaps someone else was. But as you're getting it out, it does take it from inside you. It puts it on the paper. And as you said, not necessarily to look at it, but it can be set aside. It's at arm's reach. It's out of here. It's on the paper, and we can go back to it if we need to. But, I think getting those things out and, not being critical, letting it free flow and not going back and editing it and spending time dwelling on it, just getting it out, I think, is a great exercise. Now, we were also talking before about how you undertook an art therapy diploma course. Yeah, so can you tell us a bit about that?
I thought it was something that would be awesome to do. I was trying to find something. I want to give back. I got my diploma. It was an amazing course to do. I highly recommend if anyone's interested in changing careers. It's a really interesting way to go. But by the time I actually got my diploma and I was thinking, so now I want to help others, I kind of looked deep within and went, I'm not ready to help others just yet. I have gone through quite a lot of depression and bouts of depression for majority of my life. And I didn't feel like I was ready to be able to help others just yet. So I really looked within and decided to go see a therapist myself, not necessarily an art therapist. But through doing the studies, I found that I could get a lot of help from therapy in general. I went to see a holistic therapist, and from there realised that I had a lot of work to do myself before I could really go and help others. And I think we talked about that in the sense of, you know, when you're on the plane and you have to put the mask on yourself first before anyone else on the plane. You have to help yourself first and be that the person that I guess is healthy of mind and body and spirit and soul, before you can really start helping others. But that's just my theory. But I found it really helpful getting help. I got given a lot of tools, and art therapy is a really awesome, offers so many tools to help so many different types of mental illness, or any health afflictions actually. So if you've got ADHD, art therapy is amazing. Any cognitive imbalances, great. Art therapy has so many tools that you can use. So it's I've taken a lot out of it, and I will probably eventually go into art therapy and doing it, but at the moment I'm working on myself.
Yeah, well, that's, I think a great analogy, you know, fit your face mask before you fit someone else's, you know, taking care of yourself. And I think, you know, when you are, you know, at peace, you know, body, mind, spirit, soul, like you were saying, then you can really start to help others as well. But as you said as well, I don't think there's one tool that can help people struggling. I think it is a tool belt, filling up those tool belts, because, you know, it's not all the time you don't need just a hammer to smash things out, you know. Sometimes you need a screwdriver, sometimes you need a saw to cut things off or cut people loose, you know what I mean?
So true, yeah.
So it's a tool belt, and, you know, I've said before, I'm not pretending to be an expert about people's mental health at all. I'm, you know, on this journey as well to educate myself, because it's something I want to, you know, really learn, and finding just a little tool every now and then is going to fill up my tool belt as well to keep, you know, myself in a position where, you know, I can help others too, which
it's not one size fits all. Everyone's different, so you've got to find those tools that work for you.
So you pretty much grew up in Adelaide, and, you know, we spent a lot of time together traveling around with the band The Timbers. I'm in a band with Suzi's husband, Joe Murphy, and we covered a lot of kilometres together in the car. Some would call you the matriarch of the Timbers, you know, or photographer or social media, or, you know, lots of different things you helped out with the band. But we spent a lot of time touring this country in your car, with your trailer, you know, travelling to a lot of music festivals and things like that. But you, about 6 years ago, you and Joe packed up here, everything in Adelaide, and you guys headed up to the Sunshine Coast.
We wanted a bit of a sea change. I think prior to leaving, Joe and I had been talking about, well, from my perspective, I wanted to slow down. Living in a city, Adelaide was getting bigger, noisier, busier, I was finding it a bit too much, and we'd gotten into a pattern of go, constant go. And I think in today's society, wearing that hat that says, I'm so busy is like something to be proud of. And it can work for some people, but I think I kind of wanted to slow down for my mental health. I really just wanted to slow down, and Joe was on the same page. We also wanted to get more into nature. To me, nature and nurture are two very similar things. Nature nurtures you, and being outdoors more. And we were kind of struggling in Adelaide. We'd have to drive hours to get out anywhere. We were finding, and I think you kind of get used to the same things over and over again, doing the same things. So, we made the move. It was amazing. It's a beautiful place, rainforests and mountains, and, you go for swims, surf, hikes, but it was hard. It was hard because you had a community back here that you built, and then you go somewhere else and you've got to try and build up that community again. And you have a vision, and which are probably, if you ever decide to move anywhere, don't have a picture in your mind, just go with the flow. Which I wish I had, looking back, I wish I'd done more of, and just, gone with the flow and not had a vision in my head of what things are meant to look like, and just, go with the flow. And so, I struggled mentally with the move quite a bit, but at the same time, being out in nature helped me cope quite a lot too. We're really fortunate that we've pretty much got a rainforest in our garden. We've got beautiful views, lovely home. Around the corner we've got waterfalls and creeks, and it's just, abundant wildlife. It's just amazing. And the other thing that really helped me too, we got a puppy. So animals are another really good thing for mental health, I find. And I guess probably not much different than having children. Children, when you're sitting there and playing with them, you're in the moment, you're kind of present. And it's the same with my puppy. We go out for walks twice a day, beautiful places, and you really do stop and take in your surroundings and take his energy with you as well, and look through his eyes a little bit of what's going on, and you appreciate things a lot more. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the definite, I think there's a fair bit of scientific, backing that, being outside, getting vitamin D, all that sort of stuff is good for your health, not only just your mental health. And then, you said community as well. And I know, when you're struggling, or when I'm struggling, it's hard to feel like to go and engage with people sometimes as well, or even put yourself out there to build a new community, even though, that's proven to be quite important as well, being a solid part in the community around you, or even if it's just a small one, it could be as little as a book club or something like that. But you mentioned to me before, you just took up a pottery class.
Yeah.
Yep, and said there's a bit of a community there which has helped you as well.
I think because you have like-mindedness, I think that's what community can be about, when you've got a common interest in something. We don't have tribes anymore, or those types of that community where, this person will contribute this to this part of the community, of that tribe. We've kind of lost that, and going into a membership of going to the pottery studio, and you're with like-minded people and you're teaching each other things, asking for ideas, looking at different ideas, and it's healthy. You feel like you've achieved not just what you've made and the process of that, but you're with other people that, contribute to that space. And it's a beautiful thing. And then the pottery just in itself as well, going back to the art therapy type of thing. Once again, it's stillness. When you're creating, when you're on the wheel and you're in that moment, and it's the whole process of clay working with earth, it's such a beautiful, it's very healthy. You just you get a real buzz off of it.
And I don't want to speak too much for Joe, because Joe will be coming down to Adelaide soon too, and I'd love to get him on the podcast and play some tunes with him. But and your husband has taken up surfing. Yeah,
which has been amazing. So just being in the water in general, we know is it's such a buzz. And we're lucky on the Sunshine Coast. We do get a few sharks, but not too many. It's not a big concern up there. But he goes out pretty much most mornings at dawn, watches the sunrise. He paddles out. He's made a really nice crew of friends. They all look out for each other. And it doesn't matter what level you're at out there either. They all look out for each other and help each other out. But he paddles out. He sits on the board, watches the sunrise, does some vibrational intention while he's out on the board watching the sunrise, and then, kicks butt with some waves, and has coffee with his mates afterwards. And off to work. But what a great way to start the day. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, I love that. And, like pottery, like taking up surfing, like trying to play on every single street of the Adelaide CBD. I remember being asked if I was having a midlife crisis, if I was doing that sort of thing. And, some people do perceive that stuff as a midlife crisis, but I don't see it as that. I've talked about it before. I think it's, you get to a point in your life, and I think people should start doing it younger, and it's really pursuing the things that you want to do and that makes you happy. Because, some people may pass judgment or like, oh, Joe is nearly 50 taking up surfing, why is he doing that? Because he wants to. And I think you need to be authentic with yourself. You do what you want to do. And I know that's hard to do when you're struggling or if you have a condition, but I think the more that we can be authentic with ourselves, haters are going to hate, but you might as well, spend your time on this earth doing the things that you love.
I think as you get older, I see it a lot with older people, that they think they're too old to do certain things or learn new things. The problem is that when you stop learning new things cognitively, your brain will start to slow down. I think you constantly need to keep trying new things. They don't need to be things like surfing necessarily, but there are so many less impactful things to learn.
Well, like the ukulele, the ukulele community is full of retirees, and not necessarily to be the next superstar, just because they like community. They can go and join, any night of the week. You can hit a pub up in Adelaide or a hall where there can be between, 10 to 50 to 100 like-minded people that just want to get together. They just want to sing a song, put a hand on an instrument and keep that cognitive cogs turning.
Yeah, and it's so important. As soon as we stop, I saw it with my own father. He stopped, and it's you could see he wasn't happy. You could see he went into a state of a mental, I wouldn't say depression, but you could see he started to get quite down. Because what's your purpose? We all need a purpose, and by getting up and learning new things, you're giving yourself a purpose, and it's so important to have purpose every day. But learning new things, I don't think you're ever too old to take up singing, going to choir, or taking up art classes. You've always wanted to learn watercolour. Well, start learning watercolour. And I think we need to stop putting so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect. I think this is another thing that with mental health is we have this bar that we set and it's too high. And I think we need to just drop the bar a little bit and have little points of, moments of success. And it's once again, like I was saying with the joy jar, little successes accumulate to a big success. So doing something every day, you're only going to get better and better and better at it. So, and you will become successful, but it's your definition of success too.
Yeah, I think, I love what you said about, sometimes we strive to be too perfect. Or, I heard a great quote the other day. Sometimes we're not setting our bars low enough. Sometimes people expect, they might pick up the ukulele or they might go surfing. It's like, well, I'm going to go out today, I'm going to stand up, I'm going to surf this wave. But, then they're like, well, mate, I'm not going to do that because I don't know how to paddle. I don't know how to swim. And it's like, oh, well, maybe I should go just get in the water first. Exactly. Starting, as soon as you can do that. Or, well, maybe I should, I know, with ukulele, maybe I won't buy one today because I can't afford it. But I know, I know libraries now offer, ukuleles to borrow and things like that. So if you set your bar too high, sometimes you don't even start. So
exactly.
Set your bar lower.
Yeah, totally agree. But you've got to start somewhere, and it needs to be at the bottom. We don't become a CEO overnight. You've got to work yourself from, being the paper boy to, the CEO at some stage. But that takes time. But it's the process. It's the journey. It's not necessarily the destination. It's that thing that we were talking about earlier too. We always want something new, but how about looking at what it takes to get there, to what we want to achieve, and enjoy the process. And that's what I love about art, is just it's the process. I sometimes get a little bit sad when I'm at the end of a piece, because it's like it's finished, it's done. And yeah, you get, you know, recognition for it, etc. But that's not what's important to me. It's that starting and that middle bit that feels so good, you know?
Yeah, it's just about pushing that start button. I know, you know, yeah, I always just got to remember just to start, because once you start, things generally are easier than they are. And, you know, you generally do more than you expect if you just start something. So
Exactly, yeah.
Well, that has been great. Thanks so much for joining me, Suzi. Yeah, next time you're in town, let's do a follow-up and see where we're both at.
Sounds
but
good.
What you said there before... no, I've lost it again. No, but thanks heaps for coming down. Yeah, I'd love to do a follow-up.
Thanks for having me.
See how things are going on the Sunshine Coast.
Yep.
And say good day to your husband for me.
I will.
And then, yeah, subscribe, like, all that sort of stuff. And this has been the Concrete Connection Project podcast. And thank you very much to Martin that's helping film this today, who we ran into grabbing a coffee as well and wanted to join us too. So thanks very much, Martin. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.